There we go. Let's see here. Pop out chat. And stretch this down. Do this thing and do this thing and hit this button there. Good time of day to you folks. I hope you're doing well wherever you're at. Let's see here. Good morning, world. Let's get this bread. I just had a Nutri-Grain bar. Is that like a bread? It's a little bit like a bread. Hope you folks are doing well. Colin Mack, afternoon. Out walking, but been painting flame bearers for my brother's Forces of the Abyss. Nice. Glory to the Oregon Reach, my preferred Battletech faction. Oh, okay, gotcha. Let's see here. Morning, Uncle Adam. In the Great Argle Bargle, only the Great Goblin needs to be distinct. The remainder can be whatever, armed whichever. Yes, yes. VJ Morph, how you doing? Last gig of my big Xmas New Year's run done. Time for 5 days of me time. Nice. Started reorganizing my man cave today. Painting desk all refreshed. Nice. I did a little bit of that on this last week. I finally set up all of my Army Painter paints so they're not in little boxes everywhere. They're actually on the rack and all the speed paints and all that stuff. And now it's easy to find stuff, which is nice. At least for now. Good morning from Yukon, Oklahoma. How you doing, BF Bulldog? Rod, how you doing? Frederick, good morning from Southeast Idaho. How you doing? Morning from Quebec, Dragonfire. Future Mechzine, maybe? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Good morning from bitterly cold pre-blizzard Washington, D.C. We're not going to get any snow, but it is pretty chilly here. I think it is currently... Oh, it's moving up. It's 8 degrees Fahrenheit. Even put in a new Kallax dubbed the Shelves of Unplayed Glory. The IKEA thing? Nice. Good morning from chilly, overcast Connecticut. Out walking the doggo, but should be home soon. Nice. Balmy Dayton, Ohio. About to go play Kill Team in the garage. Nice. Or in a garage, not necessarily the garage. Perfect weather here in Wollongong today. Nice. Good morning from Clearwater, Florida. How you doing, Ralph? Let's see here. Good afternoon from the UK. What a timely topic for Sunday 1V, or 1V, 1-5. I suppose, sure. Morning from cold and ready Tennessee. One of my rookies made coffee, so I need to hold a class on coffee making this week. And that'll happen, yeah. Good afternoon from Sweden. Morning from Townsville. Good afternoon from a cold and rainy, snowy Netherlands. Happy New Year from St. Thomas, Ontario. Happy New Year to everybody, as a matter of fact. I haven't said that already. Morning from Jonesboro in the middle of an ice storm in southern Illinois. Ugh, yeah. It's sunny here. I mean, it's cold, but it's real sunny. Good afternoon from a rain-swept Isle of Wight. I mean, that kind of happens a lot there in Isle of Wight, doesn't it? Isn't there a lot of rain sweeping there? Happy time of day from a cold Iowa, working on Nerd Room painting some minis this morning. Nice. Good time of day. From Sleepy Molly, how you doing? Happy New Year. Sleeting here in Edinburgh, and there's slush everywhere. Better to be indoors today, sure. Morning from a cool Orlando. Morning, Uncle Adam. Hoping to fix an air leak in the airbrush this week. It's kind of important. I get that. I had a problem some time ago in the trigger mechanism where I just basically, there's a thing you have to screw in through the bottom, but you can't use like a screwdriver. You have to find a thing that's got two little points, and yeah, it's a whole thing. But yeah. Let's see here. Painting some Trench Crusade this morning. Nice. Hoping to be doing that myself soon. Good morning from chilly Elkhart, Indiana. Or, yes, probably Indiana. Afternoon from very damp Puckle Church. Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to you as well. Is Snarling Badger's site just for your games with Mr. Venturella, not your own merch? Yeah, that's just for me and Vince. There's merch on there for Snarling Badger stuff. However, Give me a sec here. Websites. This one. Here. So this is the new Tabletop Minions website. It's at tabletopminions.org. I did get it live before the end of the year, so the thing that I said that I wanted to do, I was able to actually do. Hooray for me! So yeah, it's talks about what it is that I do. There's a relatively old picture of me, which I should probably update because I don't look as good as that. And then link to YouTube, link to Twitch, Tabletop Minions Expo thing here, so you can find out more information about the Tabletop Minions Expo coming up June 7th and 8th, 2025. This is where all the information will be about it and all that kind of stuff. It should go, Game Master sign up will go live probably before I go to Vegas. I'm going to Vegas in like a week and a half. So, but yeah, and then down here, there's an official merch store for Tabletop Minions, which has also launched. So if you're into that kind of thing, you can find stuff there. I've got a bunch of new designs. I've got these miniature agnostic designs. There's a sci-fi one. There's a bit more of a punk rock type of one. And there's kind of a gothic looking kind of one. There's this super cool t-shirt design with this Forsaken robot art on it that I like. Worked with an artist named Windlass online that I found some time ago. And so this is finally launched. We got the Nick Raimondo t-shirt. There's even a desk mat you can put underneath like your mouse and keyboard and all that kind of stuff. That's fun too. There's the punk rock Pachow, Live, Laugh, Blood for the Blood God. There's your Warrior Uncle t-shirt. Awesome illustration by Will Kirkby, who he's the guy who did the artwork for Space Station Zero. Before Space Station Zero, I commissioned him to do this artwork, and I've been sitting on it since 2020, 2021, something like that. Maybe even earlier. It's been a minute, but yeah, I think he did a great job. It turned out really, really well. So anyway, but that's the stuff. So yeah, and what else is in here? Oh yeah, and then there's a couple other shirts. This cool Skeleton Warriors one was the artwork by Nathan J. Anderson, who's the guy who did the artwork for Tanks for the Apocalypse. I actually had him do this t-shirt before Tanks for the Apocalypse. I've been sitting on some of these designs for a minute. And so that one's cool. Comes in a bunch of different colors. You can get it on red. You can even get it on a light color too if you want to, but it's mostly dark colors. So it's, it's cool. And then what else? Oh, and then there's also this one, which is like a tarot card kind of design. And I worked with Zambies on this because I came up with the concept and I did the text and the layout basically, but I was like, and I don't know if I did the hand, but I was like, hey, can I pay you to do the cloudy bits and the all that? And so, yeah, so I've worked with Zambies on that. You guys probably know Zambies from Twitch and from YouTube and such. So anyway, yeah, that's what's going on the merch store. But there's also, like I said, the new website. So got all that done before the end of the year. Hooray. And I'm glad for that to happen. So I've been talking for a while, so let's see where we need to catch up. Let me see here. Elkhart, Puckle Church, Snarling Badger, bleary-eyed but glad to be here. Well, we're glad to have you, Gaming Geekery. 49-year-old and shows that run that till 3 a.m. don't mix. No, I can understand. I was up kind of late last night myself too. Good morning from the Midtown Neighborhood District. How you doing? Good morning from West Virginia. It is a rare occurrence. I'm not painting Mecha of some kind or another. This one isn't one of them. There you go. I see Nick has joined us. How was your New Year's Eve? Do anything exciting? We just had people over. Nothing super fancy. Just had some people over and took a picture. So I had before the get together, I texted everybody that had been invited or whatever, and I was like, wear something dark. I want to take a picture. And so I did that, and it turned out really well, actually. How many people have already brought up the Gundam tabletop game? You're the first one. You're the first one. Happy New Year to you too. Frigid South, New Jersey. Bolingbrook, Illinois. Good time of day. Seeing that Bandai is doing a Gunpla Minis game. See, that was right there. After that. Glad I got into tabletop gaming through Battletech. A lance of mechs is a lot less intimidating than an army of soldiers. Yeah, one of the reasons that I've been so into painting battle mechs lately is just because it's really quick and kind of easy, at least the way that I do it. I see in like the Alpha Strike like instructions, right? I've got them sitting right here, that there's a lot of these, like this has got like a camouflage thing going on. Why? You know, you're like 50 feet tall. This one's got a bunch of glowy like OSL bits from the guns. It's cool and everything. But some of them are really crazy. And I'm like, no, like, I don't know, just the amount of detail on some of this stuff here. Like that paint jobs, like I'm like looking at them and I'm like, they're military vehicles. They're predominantly all one color. So that's why, you know, you can kind of see here, I'm going pretty much, you know, I'm putting in some accent colors. I've got this color called pale sand that I've watered down that is on, you know, like, well, of course, with the Atlas, you got to do the face in the Atlas to make that skull look. It's, you know, iconic or whatever. But yeah, I'm not going crazy. I've got a technique. I'm doing clan models in like gray with red accents, and then I'm doing and most of the heavy lifting is done in the air with the airbrush, honestly. And then those inner sphere guys are this kind of like green to blue fade, sort of a little bit, and then accent color of pale sand. So and there's some dry brushing and some stuff like that, and touch, you know, maybe a little bit here and there, some weapon like oh yeah, this is darker than everything else and it's a weapon barrel or whatever. But I don't want to get into painting every little different thing or doing camo and stuff like that. But because I'm not doing that, I can crank through them really quickly. I've finished, and this is me painting on Twitch, where, you know, painting goes slower because I'm talking to people and whatever, but I've almost finished the Alpha Strike box, which is 13 models. And then yesterday afternoon, I textured the bases of 15 more models. I think it was 5 inner sphere and 10 clan. And then in the evening, like after dinner, I basically primed them all up and then base coated and did the zenithals and all that kind of stuff. So they're ready to start painting on Monday on Twitch. So that'll be fun. I thought the Gundam Assemble game was minis game, but it looks like it might be a card game with minis, which has me less enthused. Yeah, I haven't really looked into it. I'm not honestly a Gunpla guy or whatever, Gundam guy. And I looked at it and I'm like, oh yeah, those models, it's not really my jam. But I haven't looked into the rules yet. But when you say, oh, it's mostly a card game with models, that does not surprise me at all. I don't know if you're right, but I'll look into it eventually because I know a lot of people are going to go on about it. But yeah, I've never been an anime guy. I just never I think I talked about this recently. I liked as a kid Robotech and Voltron and G-Force, and that was about it. But since high school, I haven't really paid any attention to anime. Well, Cowboy Bebop, we watched that at one point, but that was about it. I've fallen asleep twice trying to watch Akira, and it's not. I don't know what's going on there. Good morning from snowpocalyptic Kentucky, working on a Tau kill team for use in anything but kill team. Well, that'll happen. Morning, 12 degrees in Port Washington. I'm painting historic. Hey, Dave. I'm painting historic figs today. Do have a shelf of heavy gear mechs primed and ready for details. Nice. Good afternoon from wet and windy Surrey, UK. Are you going to be hit with the storms this week? I don't think so. I don't think that we're supposed to have any storms or snow or anything. I just looked, I thought yesterday, and it was like, yeah, there's no snow or no precipitation for the next, I don't know, like 10 days or junk like that. Let me just be sure. Yeah, doesn't look like we got anything going on. So that's fine. I'm okay with that. -4 Fahrenheit here. My goodness. Was that t-shirt from Friday's video a special vehicle one from a mech game? I thought it was cool. Not a. It's from a video game, an old arcade game called Metal Slug. I bought this little handheld retro gaming console thing. It's seriously, it's like tiny. It's like a pack of smokes, and it's cool though, and it's got like I think Metal Slug 1 through 5 on it, amongst a zillion other things. So I always enjoyed Metal Slug when I was a kid and everything like that, but I sucked at it, and so you're just constantly pumping quarters into it. Well, now I can suck at it and pump virtual quarters that don't exist and don't cost me any money into it, because you can just hit a button and get like 10 more credits and just do that. So I finished the first one, and I'm going to start playing the second one, but I was just like, I really enjoyed that game. Oh my God, what if there's t-shirts out there? And there's t-shirts for everything out there if you believe in yourself and do a Google search. That's pretty much about all you got to do. But yeah, that's that t-shirt is from, and a bunch of people in the comments realized it. Down in the bottom part it said Metal Slug, but up above it said Special Vehicle 001, which was more of a specific name of the vehicle or whatever. But it's just this weird tank that can kind of hop, and it can like it's a weird, crazy game. Metal Slug. Morning from Arizona. Hope you are all thinking warm thoughts, especially in the Midwest. Like I said, it's been chilly, but it's not the end of the world. Like I said, it's going to be 10 here pretty soon, so that's pretty cool. Went on a tear and cleaned and glued my whole sand trap box yesterday. Cool. Jim Crimmins, how you doing? Speaking of little plastic giant robots, Bandai just announced that they will be making a Gunpla miniatures game. Gunpla assembled 5 centimeters tall figures, about half the size of a typical Gunpla. Yeah, I've seen a bunch of stuff about that. I've seen a bunch of stuff on Blue Sky about it. I think that's my exact problem with my airbrush. Found a video I'm going to reference. Sure. Congrats on the new website. Thank you. Completing goals count no matter how late in the year. Well done. Absolutely. I appreciate it. Well, I was a bit concerned too, because I got it all done and uploaded and all the stuff and everything like that. And then when you went to tabletopminions.org, it was just like, oh, this website's under attack or something like that. It was like basically there was no SSL security certificate because I was switching over. And I'm like, why does my website need an SSL security? I mean, like, I get the merch store, but that's a completely different website as well, and it was already up. But so then they were like, well, it might take 72 hours. I'm like, oh, come on, man. It was like literally the 31st of December. And I'm like, but then it took like 2 hours, and then it was fine. So, yeah. Shout out from upstate New York. Love the channel and a big fan. Thank you very much. Hell yeah, a Trench Crusade. Would love to get into that. So I backed the Kickstarter for a bunch of STL stuff. Now, my Kickstarter email address is different than my Mini Factory email address. So, and I'm sure this probably happened a bunch. But so when they sent me the email, they're like, here, click here, and then you can get your stuff. And I'm like, cool. And then it went, and there was a thing, and then I just got a 404 over and over again. And so, but there was a thing there that says, hey, if there's a problem in the email, they're like, email us at this place. And so I did that. And then this morning, that was yesterday, this morning, I saw a bunch of emails coming in from my Mini Factory that didn't look like ads. There was something about Trench Crusade. So I think they fixed it for me. So I'll check that later on this afternoon or whatever. I got to go over to my mom's at some point too and do some stuff. But my plan is to do, get my friend Dave, hopefully, to start printing soon, because I definitely want to do some of that. And Westphalia Miniatures reached out too. They've got some miniatures they're making for Trench Crusade, and they want to see if I'm interested in looking at some STLs and stuff like that too. So I will see some of that going on as well. May I ask a couple of questions? If not, disregard the following. Number one, do you ever guest on other people's projects, podcasts? Oh, I've been on podcasts before. Yeah, not recently, but I've been on podcasts before for sure. If you do, what is the best way to contact you? Probably right here through the website. There's a contact thing right here. And then you can, there's the mailing address for my P.O. box thingy or whatever. And there's also a form to fill out. And yeah, that's probably the best. I should change the name of this. It just says Contact One. I'm not sure why that is. I'll have to fix that. There's always little tiny things you got to fix when you're messing around with your website. But yeah, that's probably the best bet. Let's see here. Happy New Year. Wish you all a wonderful 2025. Absolutely. Same to you. Let's see. Your morning, Uncle Adam. So for Kill Team, do you need to get the data cards? Also, when you get one of the Kill Team boxes, is there a particular model configuration you should do? Okay, so I don't know that much about the new Kill Team because I haven't liked Kill Team in a while. When Kill Team first came out in 2018, I loved it. I played it a lot. I made lots of videos about it. When the new version 2 basically came out in 2021, I did not like what they did, and I kind of stopped playing. And now the newest version came out this year in 2024, well, last year in 2024, and they didn't really change things too much. Clarified rules, I guess. The rules book is a little bit easier to understand, but otherwise it's but if you buy one of those team boxes, then you basically need to download the Kill Team cards, whatever the data cards or whatever, and that's free. And then it will tell you in that pack that you download, this is how you build your own list. And some of them you can build a decent list with one box. Some of them you need two boxes, which is jank, but it is what it is. But I'm probably not the guy to talk to about Kill Team at these points. There's other people out there who are much better experts. Let's say that. You do not need the cards for Kill Team. So how do you, or do you just use the app then? Like, because you must have to download the cards, right? I mean, you don't have to buy cards, God forbid, but yeah. Oh geez, everything moved. Let's see here. Where was I? There we go. Got to get the Le Pachow shirt. That's awesome. Nice. Heard that sitting on designs helps them gestate. I mean, maybe. Potentially. Nice Zambies collab. Yeah, absolutely. Zambies is awesome. She did a bunch of my Twitch emotes too back in the day. I've built and painted 3 Gundam models years ago, but I didn't have the same allure for me when I discovered mini wargaming. Yeah, same here. Well, I mean, I didn't build anything. I do own one Gundam model kit that I've never built, but I bought it because I was looking at it at the store and I was using my Games Workshop brain and trying to figure out how much it cost. And I was like, I don't know, looking at it, the size and all that, because it's probably 60, 70 bucks. It was $14. So I was like, So I bought it. Let's see here. Rules are online and free, all the data cards, and if they ever change, the physical ones would be invalid. GW cards are not often worth it. Yeah, no, GW, buying cards from GW is not, it's not a thing. Not Children's Products is a deep cut. A local store sent my birthday present for my wife in that box. Is that a GW shipping thing? It is. Yeah. Anytime that you order a box, like order from GW's website, it will come in a brown cardboard box, and on the side, it will have this little bracket thing, which maybe they can put a sticker in the middle, but they don't usually. I don't know. And then it will say not Children's Products. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's a tax thing or whatever, but every single box I've ever gotten from GW, like you could just look at it on the porch, and if you see not Children's Products, you're like, oh, that's a GW box. Now they usually use tape to close the box that has the GW logo on it, with a threat, according to my wife, because it's the GW logo and their new like slogan is more Warhammer, more often. And when they are shipping a lot of stuff to me to look at and stuff like that, sometimes the stuff will come fast and furious, and my wife believes that that is a threat, not just a slogan. But nonetheless, yeah, for years I've been thinking I should just make a t-shirt that's just like a brown kind of craft color t-shirt with the not Children's Products on it. I don't know that anyone will ever buy one. I think I ordered a sample, which will hopefully show up soon, but yeah. I made a list of games I intend to work on in 2025, and it turns out I have 11 different horses to ride. Wow. What are your miniature painting goals for this year? I know for me, just to put together a Chaos Legion Kill Team. For me, it's probably going to be more terrain and also getting Trench Crusade at least one, if not two warbands done, which shouldn't be that hard. Talking about getting paint out of boxes before Christmas, I finished printing bottle holders that work with a pegboard and got all my bottles up on the wall in front of my desk/table. Well, that's cool. Nice. So we're talking about mecha games today. What do you want to know? I'm something of a mecha game enthusiast myself. I've just been painting a lot of the Battletech stuff for Alpha Strike. There's a little bit of a bummer to Alpha Strike that you don't have with Steel Rift, and I didn't realize this at first. But like when you've got the mech cards, right? Like here's your card. Yeah, here's your cards you need for your whatever, and there's an explanation of all that stuff. There's no different weapons. There's just, this is the damage you do. Short range, medium range, long range, this is the damage you do or whatever, and that's it. And it doesn't matter whether you have AC-20s or LRM-5s or, particle cannons or whatever. And that's a little bit of a bummer. You know what I mean? Like, it sucks that basically you either have to play the spreadsheet game, the regular normal classic Battletech with, just way too much information that takes way too long so that you can choose weapons, or you can play the slimmed down version where you're just like, you do damage. How? Yeah. So that's one of the benefits, I think, to Steel Rift, because not only do you get to choose weapons for your HEVs when you are building them, you even physically can put them on there, which I like because I'm a bit of a WYSIWYG weirdo. But when you fire, you choose whether you're going to fire, I'm going to fire my missiles, or I'm going to fire my howitzer, I'm going to fire my laser cannon, I'm going to fire my railgun, like whatever. And so I do kind of like that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going to be hopefully playing some Alpha Strike soon with a couple of friends of mine. And once I get the robots, the main mechs from the box finished, which are very, very close. The ones in the picture that you see here, these are a bunch of the inner sphere ones. I need to finish their bases. A couple of them need a little bit of more detailing, but they're mostly done. Then the clan ones that I did from that box, there's like a star of 5 clan mechs, and there's 2 lances of 4 each inner sphere mechs. Those are basically done. On Monday on Twitch, I'm going to start painting some new mechs that like I said, started, did the airbrushing on them yesterday. But I'll be able to start playing pretty soon, which is really nice. So I'm going to be teaching my friend Eric and my friend Emily to play. So we'll see how that goes. I have to buy so many shirts. Well, I mean, Happy New Year. Greetings from Leighton Buzzard, assembling a bunch of Turnip 28 minis this afternoon. I did a chicken wing fry up for New Year's. The garage stunk like a fry truck till yesterday. Nice. Painting robots is Mechsy, sure. Developing 3rd edition Tech Commander, cool. Website and merch looking great. Well, thank you there very much there, Artist Empire. I appreciate it. Let's see here. Good morning from a crisp, beautiful Junction City, Wisconsin. Love the show. Thanks for all the hard work. Found a copy of Battletech at FLGS on sale. Is it worth picking up just to paint the minis? I mean, if you just want to paint minis, you're going to get a pretty good deal that way for sure. It depends on like what kind of gaming you like. Because so there's classic Battletech, which is very crunchy. Let's just say that. And then there's Alpha Strike, which is far less crunchy. Let's say that. If anything, mech should have dazzle camo like Navy ships. I feel like, whereas that would work with Navy ships back in the day, it probably wouldn't work with mechs now, because you would have laser range finders, and like just like sensors would definitely be like, yeah, it's over there. It's the size of a building. We know it's over there. You know what I mean? But in World War II, when you were basically doing most of your sensors were like looking like this through your binoculars, then yeah, different story. Mechs in city settings should have urban camo. British Tank Regiment in Berlin used. I just think camo on a mech seems sort of silly. I don't know. I'm not doing it. I've painted nearly 80 of the metal mechs and 30 of the new sculpts. The new ones are way easier and better detailed. Coming up with a variety of paint schemes is the trick. See, I'm just painting all my inner sphere guys one way and all my clan guys the other way. I'm not gonna change things up much because I want to not be. I don't want to have to look at a mech and go, "Crap, is this guy inner sphere?" Or because I'm not into the lore. I couldn't care less. So I just want to have the mechs so I know what of the two teams mainly there. I know there's also Comstar. I don't really know if Comstar is attached to one of them or if it's like a third faction. I'll look that up at some point. But for the most part, yeah. I mean, all my inner sphere are going to be that kind of green to blue fade, and all my clan ones are going to be the gray with the red accents, which I don't have a picture of here yet. But got a few buddies who are very, very excited about the Gundam announcement. That's cool. Writing for the rules for someone who likes mechs but not a Gundam guy surrounded by Gundam fans? Sure. I think the card game is separate. Interesting. Doing a crossover set with the TCG. That's what the card game... Okay, so there we go. So it's like a miniatures game, but there's also a crossover with a card game or something like that. Voltron? Lions. I like the Lions version, yeah. Whenever you were watching as a kid and they would like finally get done with like a story plot line or whatever with the Lions and then they'd switch over to the vehicles and stuff, you'd be like, ugh. Because you'd know for like the next month or two or whatever, it was just going to be shows about the stupid vehicles and it was never my thing. Hello from Brazil. How you doing? I think there's 2 different Gundam games just announced, a card game and a miniatures game. Very little info on how the miniatures game will work. Sure. Southern Indiana here. We are in the middle of an ice storm. Ooh, that's no fun. So much rain from South Wales. Wondering from Georgia, working on my Taunar. Taunar? I don't know what a Taunar is, but that's cool. Metal Slug owns rocket launcher. Nice. People always stop by the booth asking if they sell the STLs for the mechs and models, and Brian decided that piracy would destroy sales, which is really bad for independent game studios. I mean, I guess that's a good question. I don't know. Like, you know, the folks over at... Geez, it got real bright all of a sudden. This thing is supposed to be helping. It was dark before when I started. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I think that, yeah, you're going to get some piracy, but those people probably weren't going to buy stuff anyway. So the people who are going to buy stuff, well, if they can find it, like at, you know, My Mini Factory and places like that are more likely to. I don't know. It's a good question. Like, I understand why some companies do it, but I also then understand why they are sometimes out of stock. You know, like, what's his, Blackout. Definitely, you know, their stuff is 3D printed and they generally don't sell the STLs for like the regular dudes and stuff like that. But there are times where they're like, yeah, we're, you know, it's going to take us 3 weeks to get this to you because we've got a backlog or whatever. And so you've always got that kind of situation. So, let's see here. Where was I? You can find kits for that Metal Slug tank out there somewhere. I think it's out of production though. Gotcha. Starting today at 66, supposed to get down to 26. Oh, wow. What mech have you really enjoyed painting? What mech did you not enjoy painting? They're all kind of the same. At least it seems like so far for me, they're all kind of the same. Thinking about dipping my toe into Steel Rift and maybe Gamma Wolves using EM4 plastic mechs. A sprue of 5 costs $7, and they currently have an army builder deal of 25 for $28. So that's a pretty good deal. Fat Dragon Games is sure showing off your 2024 awards show. Did you get their Valkyrie expansion freighters yet? I haven't yet, but I see that it's on Wargame Vault, but I haven't gotten it yet. King crabs are a fun canvas with a big flat top for freehanding. Yeah, I got no interest in doing that. Metal Slug was always a favorite growing up. It was always really cool. I worked at an arcade in the early 90s, and I was like, this is cool, but I kind of sucked at it. Morning from freezing Columbus, Ohio. How you doing? Tempestus Scion's Torox truck gives me Metal Slug vibes. Yeah, I can see it could be in the same vibe. Sure. I'm modeling mechs and vehicles for Battletech. Chisholm's first and second raiders. They have no standard paint scheme because they are a ragtag group of rejects and their paint jobs reflect that. Cool. I still have a bunch of metal heavy gear minis from years ago. I think I should think about repairing and repainting them someday. Yeah, no, they're, I got a friend, my friend Eric was big into heavy gear. He owned like tons and tons and tons of stuff for that. What is Blue Sky? It's a social media site, like kind of like what Twitter used to be, but better. 5 centimeters is 2 inches, much less than half the size of a gunpla, more comparable to Battletech mechs. Yeah, could be. Heavy gear models are among the most challenging to complete, and of all the miniatures I've done, needed up to 7 pins. Yeah, that's the downside. Being old and metal, there's a lot of parts and you need a lot of pins. It's one of the nice things about the new Battletech plastics is that they don't have necessarily the greatest detail if you were to compare them to, say, GW or whatever, but they're already pre-built and they're not delicate. They're not, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to Vegas in a couple of weeks for the Las Vegas Open, and I'm supposed to bring a small army to put in the army painter is going to have an army painting contest where you bring your army, and then it's like a judging contest like Golden Demon and other things like that, Capital Palette and whatever. And army painter wants those of us who are factory team people to come and bring some armies. Now, we can't win, obviously, but, you could show them off and go, hey, look at this. And so I was like, ugh. I was thinking, well, I guess I could bring my Imperial Guard combat patrol. But that armored sentinel, he's got just a little tiny stupid antenna on the top. I don't want to take that on a plane. That's going to be a pain. It's going to get snapped off, all this crap and everything. And now I'm like, I think I'm just going to bring a Battletech army. It's still technically an army. And those guys, honestly, if I gave them a good layer of matte varnish, I could probably just put them in my pockets. Like, honestly, they're nigh indestructible in comparison to most other models that I've found. So yeah, again, not super high detail with the Battletech minis, but I don't have to worry. I could just throw them in a bag and stick them inside my luggage and they'd be fine. Yeah. I even found someone making casts and selling copies of some terrain that I developed. Well, that's not good. Where are we? What? Okay, there we go. Got it. Battletech never appealed to me because of the model sculpts and because I didn't even bother with the rules. I started playing war games with Battletech when I was in middle school, like 7th or 8th grade. I don't particularly want to play the classic game anymore, which is the one with all the, you get the big sheet and there's little circles to fill in all your limbs as you take damage and all that kind of stuff. So I'm more interested in Alpha Strike because Alpha Strike is the much more streamlined down version. Instead of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of all the information about your mech, it's on a card, like the size of a magic card or whatever. But you would, What are you 3D printing these days? I haven't 3D printed anything all week. I was pretty busy with the New Year's and all that kind of stuff and everything like that. But I do have a project. I've got a robot that I want to 3D print on my FDM printer, and then also have my friend Dave print it on resin, and then I want to make a video about the comparison and such like that. Now I got an update from Trench Crusade saying they're having some volume of file issues. Yeah, I think I saw some of that too. I have an Iwata Neo airbrush. Any idea what's a good step-up model? Probably the Eclipse, which is what Bakhtash said right after that. Yeah, if you go from the Neo, go to the Eclipse afterwards, I would say. Recently bought Sons of Bahamut, 3 bodies, 3 pairs of legs, 3 arms, 6. Yep. What am I supposed to do with them? Well, if you're buying the Sons of Bahamut 3, basically having the extra heads and hands and all that stuff gives you the ability to make them look all different, so that they don't all look identical. I just painted on Twitch the 3 of those Sons of Bahamut or whatever, so that I could use them for, because they're a spearhead basically for Age of Sigmar. So yeah, I just went through with those guys. Yeah. Kill Team feels bloated for a skirmish game. I mean, for a skirmish game, yes. For a GW game, somehow no. But yeah, I know what you mean. Good morning, a happy new year from the frozen, blasted wastes of Columbus, Ohio. My goodness gracious. So So I guess that unbuilt Gundam kit is on the same shelf as the resin printer. No, it's upstairs. The resin printer's in the basement. Have you tried Alpha Strike yet? I really like the rule set for how easy and quick it is. Plus, there are almost infinite levels of complexity. You can have submarines if you want. Submarines, you say? No, I haven't gotten. I mean, I watched a couple of battle reports. I might have watched it in person at Gen Con for a while, this year or last. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Kill Team 2024 full rules are not free. If you want to play the match play style game, you need that card set. The team rules are free, though. Sure. Not children's products, so they don't have to comply with safety regs. Yeah, probably true. Do you and Vince plan to have a demo event at AdeptCon? No, we are not. We are not. We were thinking about it, and then it's just we kind of ran out of time, and there's not like basically if we wanted to have an event at this point, it would have to be on like Sunday afternoon, and everybody's kind of gone by Sunday afternoon, so it's not going to happen. But maybe next year. Gundam kits are great for people who enjoy the model building aspect of the hobby. Oh, absolutely, for sure. Yeah. Canada has a sales tax break on kids' toys for a few months. So that label the box has to be there. Sure. Let's see. Engineering is astonishing compared to basically everyone else in the plastic model industry. Yeah, I've heard very good things about putting the kits together, and you don't usually have to paint them because they're usually in multicolored plastic. I've heard that as well. You and Vince ever going to create a mech game? I don't know. That's a good question. Like I said, it's like Vince loves Battletech lore to some degree. Like he knows a lot of it and stuff like that because he used to play a bunch. He doesn't play much anymore, I don't think at all. But he used to play a bunch, so he knows a bunch of the lore, and that's all very cool. But yeah, I'm not a lore guy, and so I don't know. I think a mech game would be interesting, but I think that it would be interesting also to see how we would do it. I'm not exactly sure. EU has very stringent regulations for toys, children's products. That sticker on GW stuff is to get around that. Gotcha. Is there a mech game in Snarling Badger Studios' future? Like I said, I don't know. I mean, our game for this year, which will be coming out in late May, that's already done. As far as like writing is concerned, it's currently in second round of playtesting, and it is in development as well. By the end of January, it should be ready to go to proofreading, and then I will be able to start laying it out probably mid-February. So we're ahead of the game this year, which is great. Some of the special abilities are a result of having different weapons. Yeah, I'm hoping that that's the case for sure. So that at least it's going to give a little bit of difference. But there's a little bit of a agency thing, I think, in being like, okay, it's a relatively simple game. Maybe it's a streamlined game, but at least I get to go, well, now I'm going to fire my missiles as opposed to just like, I shoot you. You know what I mean? With what? I don't know. I got a bunch of weapons. But you know, we'll see how it goes. I just think it's interesting that like Steel Rift is, I would say, even a bit more streamlined than Alpha Strike seems to be, but still gives you the ability to go, I'm going to shoot this laser at you, as opposed to I'm going to shoot this missile at you, or whatever, depending on what the weapons are you have on your HEV there. I think you mentioned last time that you do some light 3D modeling for your 3D printer. What program do you use for it? I also got a Bamboo recently, interested in starting modeling. So I do hard surface stuff like buildings and like not people. I don't do like organic sculpting. I do like terrain bits and things like that. So, what they call hard surface stuff. I use a program called Plasticity, which is not free, but it's not crazy expensive, but it's real nice. I like it. Is the hype for Trench Crusade real? The fact that all my favorite YouTubers are promoting it makes me wonder if it's a big paid sponsorship blitz. They didn't pay anybody anything. They have said, which I think is really interesting, they have said they actually spent no money on marketing at all. I talked with Thomas about it actually on Facebook, and he's like, yeah, we didn't have a marketing budget of any kind. He's like, it's all been completely grassroots. Like I talked about it, did a video about how successful their Kickstarter was and all that and what it meant. And the video's done well for me, but they didn't reach out to me. They didn't anything. Actually, I didn't I wasn't even friends with Thomas on Facebook until after that video came out. He basically sent me a friend request and was like, "Hey, thanks for making that video. That was really nice," and whatever. But yeah, I think that it's a very interesting game. I think the artwork is, besides the fact that it's amazing, I think it's also just very compelling. There's fluff for people who want it. You can ignore it for people who don't generally, but you got great modeling stuff. I just watched a video last night before going to bed. What was Grimdark Compendium? They're a YouTube channel, and they do a lot of painting tutorials on the super grungy, textured grimdark kind of style. And they were doing a bunch of stuff. Their video was about Trench Crusade, but it was partially advertising the fact that because Grimdark Compendium, besides just making YouTube videos, they also make like downloadable, you buy these things, you either pay a subscription or I don't know how it works, but you can get special classes that aren't just on their YouTube. And they're going to have an entire series of classes about how to paint all 6 different factions of Trench Crusade stuff and everything like that. So that's going to be really interesting. But yeah. Let's see here. Happy New Year from a 27-degree Norfolk, Virginia. Dolphins still in the bay. Oh, goodness. I got to be getting chilly, I would think. I have to put in little dolphin hats and gloves. Special rules contain stuff about the weapons. Yep, I think I read that one already. My friend and I didn't like that the weapons are amalgamated. That's a good word. Into a value. Yeah, I could see that that's a bit of a bummer or whatever. I just sold a few Gundam kits on eBay since I know I'll never make them. 144 scale appealed to me as though they could be used for large mechs for miniatures gaming, but too big for 100 or to 1/300th scale. Gotcha. I'm a huge fan of Battletech, but I have to admit it works better as a computer game than as a tabletop game. So much better when the computer is crunching all the numbers. Yeah, I did finally start playing MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries relatively recently. I think I told this story before. I was trying to play it on my PS5 and it was just, I could not get the Y-axis thing to, like I would go into settings and say invert Y-axis because I'm one of those, and it just wouldn't. And I was like, so I'd stopped even attempting to play it for like a year. And then, I don't know, a month ago, I started messing with it again and then realized that in the settings, there are 2 places that you can set invert Y-axis. You can set invert Y-axis for when you're a person running around the ship. And then there's a separate one for when you are a mech running around on the ground, shooting people, shooting other mechs. And I'm like, why? And I was only ever clicking the button that said invert Y-axis on the human, not on the mech. And I did not realize because their UI is sort of trash for the for the settings area. I was just like the way they've got stuff categorized. And so I would scroll down, see invert Y-axis, click it, and then nothing would happen as I was standing there in my mech because I was telling it when I'm a human, invert it, but not now when I'm in a mech. And then I eventually found it, then set it in both places, and then hooray for me. So yeah, I don't know. But I unfortunately, I haven't played it very much since I did that because I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077, which is just so friggin' good. It's just so good. Anyway, but yeah, I do agree that in many situations, there are a lot of games out there. You don't see them as much these days, but I remember being at a convention and playing a spaceship combat game called Silent Death, made by Iron Crown Enterprises back in the 90s. And there was a bunch of us around the table playing, and it was just dragging because there was so much like, well, I took 3 points of damage here, and I got to do this, and I got to roll to see if this happened. And it's just like, and I was thinking to myself, this would be so much faster if we were playing this on the computer. It would just be so much quicker if it was a video game. And that has happened with real crunchy games, I totally agree. Would you say Battletech is approachable for someone? No. I'm sorry, I was talking about the game. Would you say Battletech is approachable for someone who doesn't like long painting sessions and someone who plays games with non-war gamers? They're easy to paint as long as you don't go crazy, I think. I should make a video about how I do it, and I don't know if anyone will care, but I might make a video about how I do it. And someone who plays with games with non-war gamers. For this being the quick start rules for Alpha Strike, which is the streamlined version, there are still, it's 40 big page. Well, the 40th page is an ad, but There's 40 pages of stuff in here, and there's a lot going on. Different formations, section on force building. The combat phase is like, I don't know, 8 pages. It's like, there's a lot going on. So it's not a simple game, even though it is simpler than the standard classic Battletech game. Let's say that. The Not Children's Products shirt is on my list. I ordered a shirt from the Man's Shorts store the other day since they finished their run of D&D Florida Man. Gotcha. I think Alpha Strike is better if you're doing a large battle with many kinds of vehicles. If you're just doing mechs versus mechs, just play classic. I don't have that kind of time. That's the thing that drives me nuts a little bit too, is that I see people who play the simpler game and they just play with 50 mechs on the table. And I'm like, but yeah, I just don't want to sit there for 6 hours. I just don't. I want to get a game done, play, and then either play another game or do something else. That's why I prefer to play. I want to play with like small amounts of mechs versus small amounts of mechs in a game so it can be quick. That's what I'm looking for. Thought you gave up on Battletech years ago. Are you just getting into Alpha Strike now? Yes, I have never played Alpha Strike before. Some of the mechs still get access to their special guns like LRMs, blah, 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 if you include the rules. I'll have to look into that. Battletech is my favorite miniature game. I like Alpha Strike and the Company Plus scale. I think I just read that one, but maybe I didn't. Good morning and glory to Merrick. I don't know who Merrick is, but glory to them, unless they're bad. Alpha Strike rules would probably be more appealing to non-war gamers. Battletech Classic is very old school 80s tabletop game. I mean, yeah, if you're like trying to like teach some people who haven't played wargaming before, I would definitely start with Alpha Strike, because yeah, classic Battletech there's a lot going on. One bummer about Alpha Strike when it comes to the weapons fire, it's sacrifice of detail to keep things moving. It is, and that's what's interesting, because like I said, Steel Rift doesn't have to do that, and they are, I would say, even a more streamlined game than what I see here for Alpha Strike. But we'll see. Remember rolling the dice for every weapon on a battle mech and then rolling hit location for that one hit? I think I prefer the abstraction. Yeah, I don't disagree in that situation. But I'm going to turn this light down is what I'm doing. I'm just so... That'll help a little. Anyway. But yeah, it's just... Getting the right level of abstraction. And I'm admittedly fussy about it. You know, I get that too. But still, it is interesting to figure out... I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Would you consider army-sized wargaming when it's in the epic-sized format? 8mm, I think. Not really. There's just too many. I don't want that many models. I don't want to push big forces around, even if they're physically smaller. You know what I mean? Like 8mm or Legion Imperialis or any kind of stuff like that. I like having a small war band of figures that I can pay attention to. I don't want to be like, here's these guys, and just push them. Like, it's just not... Like, I'm not saying that people are wrong for digging that kind of stuff. Everybody's got their different kind of vibe that they want to do, and that's cool. But I'm not interested anymore in army scale games. I used to play them because that's what I thought you did and stuff. But then as skirmish games have gotten bigger, I'm much more interested in generally skirmish style games. Hey, Uncle Adam, why are your YouTube videos so short? Would love longer content. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I mean, this goes on for 2 hours. As far as... It's interesting because... It used to be that, like... And for me, I still feel it is. The sweet spot was always around 10 to 15 minutes tops. But man, I see a lot of videos these days. Not so much in the wargaming space, but in other places that are... half an hour or 45 minutes. And I'll be honest, most of the time I'm not super interested in watching a 45-minute video. You know, like every once in a while, like maybe if I'm eating and then I don't have anything to do for a while. Okay, cool. So I'm sitting out on the couch and I'm eating a sandwich and whatever and all that kind of stuff. It's lunchtime or something. But yeah, I would rather watch, for me personally, I'd rather watch 3 enjoyable videos that I like versus one long, video, 45 minutes. The other thing is that it takes an incredible amount of editing time and stuff like that to do longer videos. Like if it's just just much longer clips of me talking and nothing going on, well then that, then that's not, doesn't take that much editing time. But if you got to, throw in B-roll and do this and do this and do this and do this and all that kind of stuff that people do. Like I just watched a video recently. What was it? Oh, it was this guy who talks about comic books. I can't even remember the name of his channel, but he just did a video recently. This was crazy because it was easily 45 minutes and I ended up watching the whole stupid thing, which was weird. Because I've never even read this comic before. It's the Sonic the Hedgehog comic. And it was the story about how like Archie Comics picked it up and ran with it for a long time. And then this guy was the writer. And then this other guy was the head writer. And then there was beef between them. And it was blah, blah, blah. And all this kind of crazy crap. And then eventually, it was no longer through Archie Comics. And now it's through IDW and blah, blah, blah. And all this stuff. And the thing is, I'm watching this video and I'm like, this is an amazing amount of detail as far as like research and stuff like that. But it's also like it was real retention editing kind of style, kind of like I don't want to say like Mr. Beast, but like crap's got to be going on constantly and things are moving in and animations and all this stuff. And I'm like, how many weeks did it take him to make this video? Because I put out a video every single week and I got other stuff to get done, I don't usually go super long and I also don't go super crazy. Like I'm trying to put in B-roll and stuff and like make it, but I also know that most of the people, if this was a miniature, which it's not, it's a thing you plug in the wall. If this was a miniature, most people who are watching my videos are doing it this way. And they're just listening. So when I throw in a bunch of extra B-roll, in many situations, it's wasted on the viewers because they're basically just listening. So, but yeah, I'm not generally a super long video watcher too much. Like if it's a live stream and I just want to have it on in the background while I'm doing something, I do, but I also have this problem. I can't paint to videos. Can't do it. If there's a video and I'm painting, I just watch the video and then I stop painting, my brush dries out. So it has to be audio only. It has to be podcast or an audiobook. That's just the way that I work. So yeah, that's why. I know that it seems like the meta, if you will, in YouTube is to start making longer videos, but I don't know. I've got a great mech rule set I've been working on that is a great combo, I hope, of crunchy and quick game mechanics. Maybe ready this spring. Nice. That's cool. I tend to paint a lot of camouflage schemes in my mechs because it's supposed to be fun. Well, I mean, if you have fun doing it, cool. I don't like painting camo in general. Like on a regular 28mm scale vehicle, I can do it because I just use putty and it works out like silly putty and stuff. And it's not too hard. But on something that small, I don't know. Size of a building and hotter than a house fire. Sensors are going to find a Battletech quite easily. Yeah, I would think so. A battle mech. Sorry, yeah. Dazzle camo from World War I didn't actually work all that well, which is why the Navy stopped doing it. Yeah. For Alpha Strike, I like the alternative attack roll method where you roll a pair of D6s for each potential point of damage. Seems less swingy that way. I'll have to look into that. Comstar is its own thing. They're the phone company with an elite army and a religious fanatic wing. Oh, that sounds fun. Because I was at my local store and they had like a bunch of boxes I was looking at. It was like, okay, Inner Sphere, Clan, and then Comstar. And I know the name, but I was like, I don't know what their deal is. Hi from upstate New York. I'm painting Infinity for a friend. Nice. Gundam Universe has a simple thing called Minovsky particles. They release before battles that make computer targeting impossible. Oh, okay. Battletech has become the most active channel for my FLGS that my friend just opened. He even reps Snarling Badger. Oh, that's cool. Nice. I appreciate that. Don't know much about Steel Rift. Are the rules decent? I think so, yes. Alpha Strike just leaves too much out for me. So if you're looking for crunch, then no. Steel Rift isn't particularly crunchy. But it's still a really fun game. One of the things I love about it is you never roll to hit. You just hit. You're shooting basically a walking building. You didn't miss. But when you shoot somebody, then the person who's being shot, they roll to see if their defense stuff worked properly and they maybe didn't take any damage or whatever. But they were hit. You didn't miss. You know what I mean? It'd be like in this day and age when you've got like an M1A1 Abrams or whatever, and you fire at another tank and you miss. It'd be like, how did you even, like, that's the thing. Whenever I see like games where like big giant robots are fighting or whatever, and one of them shoots a laser at the other one and it misses. I'm like, how did that happen? How did you, like, yeah, I get you're both running around crashing through buildings or whatever, but that's the whole point of technology, is to make it so you don't miss. So I don't know. I like Steel Rift a lot, and I'm going to continue to play that as well. And I've got and there are plenty of people out there who are using Battletech Mechs in Steel Rift. It is totally doable. So much so that Steel Rift, as a company, makes these little round things that go around the hex bases if you want to, and you can snap them on there, and then it is the right size for the Steel Rift bases, because Steel Rift bases are round, but they have these little notches that show the firing arcs or whatever. So you can just buy these little things and snap them around the hexes and then use them. But if you're on the Steel Rift Discord, there's plenty of people in there who are using Battletech mechs as well. But I also do really like a lot of the Steel Rift mechs. I think they're very cool. I think some of them are definitely, to me, visually more interesting than many of the Battletech mechs. Comstar is its own weird techno cult. I'd count them as a third group since they end up shattering into a lot of problems later. Ooh, that's okay. Greetings from chilly central Finland. Currently painting original Warcry terrain. One of the best terrain sets by GW. Absolutely. I think I was talking about this on Friday on Twitch. It's the beginning, like in the 2018 version of Kill Team, the terrain that came with that is the best terrains some of the best terrain that GW has ever made. And the original like 2019 version launch box of Warcry, also the best terrain they've ever made. I recognize the camouflage isn't necessary with sensors and mech size. I like my war machines to look like war machines. I paint all my mechs with variant camouflage rather than parade schemes. See, I'm not doing parade schemes. I'm generally just being like, this is the color they're going to be. Because again, like in the military, if you look at a tank, 9 times out of 10, they're just like, it's green or whatever, or sand. They don't get real crazy with it. Everything just sort of gets sprayed the same color. But that's the type of thing that I like to do. And it's also fast, so I can crank through stuff pretty quickly, and I still think they look pretty decent. Painted all my mechs in the G.I. Joe Alley Viper scheme, bright orange with blue tiger stripes. Whoa, that seems like a lot of work. It's a building-sized hunk of metal powered by a miniature star. It's going to show up on radar. Thermal, infrared, seismic. Hell, look at the new form of thermal night vision the U.S. Armed Forces has. See, there you go. Good morning, Uncle Adam. Today I'm going to start working on my War Master Ascended. Neat. Why do you think GW has so many problems keeping their products in stock? Every time I look, something is out of stock. Partially it's because a lot of people want to buy it. And also partially I think that they're still to this day having production problems. I've heard a lot of stories. I've heard stories directly from Games Workshop employees and ex-Games Workshop employees. An ex-Game Workshop employee told me because he used to work in the like forecasting department, and he's like, they had no idea what they were doing. He's like, we just guessed most of the time. We didn't really we could not properly forecast how much a thing, we'd have a thing and be like, this is going to sell this many, and then it would sell half that, or it would try to sell twice that, and they never knew. So there's that problem. And then secondly, like they're in progress of building a second factory, but it's not happened or whatever the deal is. And it's a whole thing. And so, yeah, they just don't have they're generally, it seems like they're generally always trying to crank out new stuff. And when you constantly put all your production for your factory into new stuff, then you can never keep the old stuff in stock. So there are people out there that are like, hey, it's great you guys came out with the 15th different, Horus Heresy model this month, but I haven't been able to buy a Chaos Rhino in 6 months because nobody's got them in stock. So could you, what I mean? That kind of thing. And I think part of the reason that they slowed down, did not stop, but slowed down putting stuff out over the last quarter of the year was hopefully so they could take a lot of that production time and dump it into staples that they need for people in their armies. But I honestly don't know. We also weren't the biggest fans of the all or nothing attacks and alpha strikes, so we used that method of rolling a pair of dice to each point of attack. Cool. Thermals make any machine very easy to see now, but a quick scan with eyes could miss a camoed mech from a distance. I guess if it was a really long distance, maybe. And if that's the thing, is that most of the times the camo that I see in a lot of these mech paintings and stuff like that, you're like, what planet is that on? Are you in blue and green planet or whatever? That kind of thing. Steel Rift rule set is a thing of beauty, and it's a kit basher's dream. You can use just about any mech models. Absolutely. I like Steel Rift a lot. And that's the other benefit, too, is that I'm looking at this from the angle of, well, If it turns out that Alpha Strike just annoys the hell out of me, I don't know. I could use those other mechs in the whatever Steel Rift. So yeah. What do you think of the Battletech minis? Ninjon recently ranked them as terrible. Personally, I don't think they are that bad, especially for the price. Well, I mean, he's like a he's a fancy painter lad, right? So they're not as good as GW, sure, because GW spends an incredible amount of money on the molds. So you have very, 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 very sharp details on your very, very tiny little people. Generally, it seems as if, and I'm sure I'm not wrong in this, that Catalyst is spending less per mold, and then so you get a bit of a softer model. I don't mean squishy. I don't mean bendy. The plastic's not bad, but it is definitely not super sharp details. But they're not terrible. They're not bad. Sometimes the mold lines are a bit of a pain in the butt too, but sometimes they're great. You know, sometimes you're just like, oh, they've hidden them all so well, I barely can even have to take them off, and that's cool. But other ones, you're like, well, that's a weird mold line to just put down the middle of that thing. I think that they could be better, but when you buy a box of 4 or 5 models for $10 less than a single model from Games Workshop, I don't know what you expect. You know what I mean? If you're like, well, geez, gosh, I think that these models aren't nearly as good as this $45 per guy model that I bought, you know, yeah, well, that's the case. So you have to take that into consideration in my mind as well. They're inexpensive models. They're also pretty sturdy. Like I was saying earlier, I have no qualms about traveling with Battletech miniatures, whereas taking my Imperial Guard Combat Patrol on the road to Vegas makes me nervous. So, you know. Rumor has it that Privateer Press are bringing Monster Apocalypse back. If it were to go STL, would that tempt you into some kaiju action? I don't think so, no. I don't know why. I like tried to get into Monster Apocalypse back when it was like you didn't know what you were getting in the box. And I just bought a bunch of stuff off of eBay that I did know what I was getting. And then I tried playing it like a couple of times and it just never struck me. I don't know why. Models Death Ray Designs does for Steel Rift are fantastic, if a bit pricey. I mean, they're being 3D printed and then mailed out to people. So they're, you know, it's not, they would be cheaper if they could spend the $50,000 per mold or whatever, you know, like that to crank out a bunch of things. So yeah, you know, when you're a small company, sometimes things cost more because they can't afford to go the volume direction and still get good quality, right? So, but I think that they're pretty nice. I like them a lot, the Steel Rift ones. Ninjon must have never done any of the old metal mechs, and that could be. Just working on my Battletech minis last night, doing a DCMS 5th Sword of Light Company. The Hamamoto Chi is gorgeous. I only understand about half those words. It was mostly the first part of that sentence. I'm not really into the lore and don't see myself getting into it. So that's just, keep that in mind. But that's the case with pretty much every game. There's a really light mech game called Mech Attack. Roll to hit, then roll where it hits on the grid. The weapon gives a hit pattern. A lot of fun. I can't remember if I've heard of that or not. Only ever beat Metal Slug on the PC with Infinite Continues. Yeah, I've been, like I said, this little handheld I've been playing it on. Infinite Continues. I don't understand. Like, God, the light all of a sudden. I'm getting like a weird. Anyway, this is what happens when you film in the sunroom. You know what I mean? Sometimes there's sun. They have rules for variable damage, lets you roll for each damage. Gotcha. Wish I could find, let alone afford heavy gears. I mean, they sell that stuff online, don't they? Isn't that just DreamPod 9, right? I mean, the afford part, that's a different story altogether. Sure. DreamPod 9. Click and website. Ooh, this is an old website. Good Lord. So, well, maybe they don't sell the stuff here. There's download, support, games, Come on. Heavy Gear Blitz, which is the kind of their current Heavy Gear game. Dreampod Online Store. So it must be over here. Oh, there you go. See, you got a bunch of crazy mechs and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, the stuff's available if you want to, but again, the afford part is a different story for sure. Although, and depending on where you live, and if it's probably coming from Canada, I could see that being also difficult. Greetings from Montreal, shoveling the white stuff, then looking forward to assembling Kill Team starter kit this afternoon. Nice. I'm going to Adepticon for the first time this year. What are your top one or to-dos and don'ts? I would definitely say that you're going to want to bring comfortable shoes. It's important. You're also going to want to, and this is just the case for all conventions, if you see something that you like, you know, you're walking around and you got stopped by a booth and you're like, whoa, this is really cool. It is in many situations your best bet to just buy it, as opposed to go, well, I'll think about it and come back tomorrow, because it won't be there. I don't know why. That's just, it's as soon as you see, like, you could walk past something and be like, I'm not interested in that, and it will be there for the rest of the show. Now, maybe it's because everybody's not interested in it and it's not moving, and that makes sense. I get that. But I'll be honest, it's I can't tell you how many times I've been like, let me think about it. And then you even come back 20 minutes, 30 minutes later and it's gone and there's not anymore and they sold out or whatever. And so if you see something that really strikes you, if you see something you're like, well, then that's not that big of a deal. But if you see something that really strikes you, and you might want to get it as soon as you can. That's just, again, the same with pretty much all conventions, Gen Con, whatever. But otherwise, just kind of don't. The other big thing too, I find as well, is don't schedule too much stuff. I see people who go to like conventions and then they'll schedule like too many events, too many classes, that kind of stuff. And then they just get to talking to people or hanging out, or they get too tired or too exhausted. And then you've paid for this class. And yeah, admittedly, like, you're helping out the artist by paying for the class and then just not showing up, but you're also wasting money to some degree. And so, yeah. But yeah, those are the big things. Comfortable shoes. If you really want the thing, buy the thing, if you can, and as opposed to waiting. And don't overextend yourself. Don't, especially on your first one. Go and just kind of get the lay of the land and check it out. I mean, a lot of people are getting the lay of the land this year because it's a completely new facility and everything. So there's that too. Let's see here. I'll have to look into it. The only things I've been playing is OPR for my 40k models and Revelations skirmish for my mechs and tanks itch. Nice. I scrolled too far. What is Steel Rift? Steel Rift is a mech game produced by a company called Death Ray Designs, and it was written by Ash Barker from Guerrilla Miniature Games on YouTube. Boy, oh boy, I'm way behind here. Goodness. Come on. There we go. Okay, I caught up. Well, didn't catch up, but you know what I'm saying. Agree with your approach to paint schemes for regular military giant robots. That said, giant robot gladiatorial arenas are a thing of anime and games. Sure. I mean, yeah, when they have the big what do they call it? Soul or whatever. Yeah, but that's Battletech minis are great. With more knowledge of the lore, I have learned to love the ugly designs. Cool. I don't pay my Battletech minis mechs by army. I do it by unit. I have 6 different eras and models of locusts. They're all green and yellow. All my Crusaders are white. Yeah, gotcha. New Battletech Aces sounds interesting. Has solo mode. That does sound interesting. Yeah, I've been hearing about that a little bit too. Battletech Pocket Armies should be a t-shirt or a poster. I was doing some Battletech painting yesterday with some green, black, and yellow elements. I have yet to find a yellow that actually looks good. I mean, I guess it depends on what you mean by looks good. Honestly, the newest, there's is it Moonbeam Yellow? I think it's called Moonbeam Yellow in the new John Blanche, one of the new John Blanche sets that'll be coming out in February, and that's a great yellow. That's a really, really nice bright yellow. On Friday, when I did the video about that, that's the color that I used on the Inquisitor's epaulets. Very slowly started kit bashing some new Antioch for Trench Crusade. Stoles Peachy's tips about making Stormcast figure into the new heavy mech armored trooper. It makes sense. I can see that. It's pretty cool. For anyone playing Alpha Strike, don't forget the master unit list. You can add any unit you want to your lance. Comstar is religious AT&T. Weird. Since the art style update from the Clan Invasion and the Mercenaries Kickstarters, the sculpts have massively improved aesthetically. Still some of those older 80s and 90s sculpts, though. Gotcha. I'm very hesitant to put out any of the STLs I made after. I prefer to sell the miniatures, but then again, 3D printers don't work as well as they're supposed to. Sure. Since I got a ventilation system, it's now too cold to print resin here, even though it's inside. Yeah, my basement at this point would probably be a touch too cold for that too, although you can generally get heaters to put like in your enclosure and stuff like that that can help a bunch. Watched a video of Adam Savage putting together one of the really high-end Gundam kits and being in constant awe of the engineering behind it. Yeah, they do. I mean, they do some amazing work with that stuff. Time to go for some dim sum with the family. Nice. Wouldn't mind seeing a Zoids-style mech game where the mechs are animals. Oh yeah, I remember that. I'd love it if there was a Battletech game that is halfway between classic Battletech and Alpha Strike in the detail versus quick play spectrum. Yeah, I could maybe see that too. That would be nice. Discovering Alpha Strike in 2015 has been a great thing for me. I can now feel dozens of models on the table, and the game doesn't take all day to play like classic Battletech would. Well, that's cool. I see Mantic Games are bringing out an Assassin's Creed game next year. I don't know any details, but there was a picture come up on Mantic's 2025 incoming video release last week. Yeah, they're really into the licensed stuff, aren't they? It'll be interesting to see what that turns into. One of the things I like about classic Battletech is that you may have 10 weapons, but you have to balance that with how much heat you can dissipate, so you can't just go guns blazing all the time. True. I wonder how much of the hype for Trench Crusade was because when I saw it, I mentioned it to you and a few other YouTubers. I found out about it at Adepticon. Because I mentioned it. I saw it there. I saw it wasn't being like... I saw a poster, like not even a poster, 8.5 by 11. I saw a 8.5 by 11 normal piece of paper, and it said Trench Crusade, and it had a really super cool piece of art on there. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And then I looked it up online, and like literally I was standing there. I just pulled out my phone. I'm like, Trench Crusade. And then I looked it up, and I was like, neat. And then that's where I discovered it. Discovered's maybe the wrong word. I like Alpha Strike, but I really like the crunchiness of the full game, especially when using certain weapon types and equipment. Gotcha. Picked up Halo Flashpoint Recon set as my introduction to Mantic games. Yeah. Battle Force was, for me, the way to play big units, classic for duels or small-scale engagements. I don't think I know familiar with Battle Force. Currently cleaning up old Doom Troopers from the Mutant Chronicles Siege of the Citadel to use for Space Weirdos. Nice. That sounds fun. For 3D free software, try SketchUp for simple stuff and Blender for higher end details. I really like Tinkercad. Actually, Tinkercad for simple stuff, also being free, is actually really, really nice. It's funny. Every single model that I make through Plasticity, I have to run it through Tinkercad to make it so that I can print it. It's the weirdest thing. Plasticity does this strange unit sizing thing where, like, if I take the STL out of Plasticity and try to put it into my slicer for the bamboo stuff, it's tiny, like just like little tiny on the plate. Like the plate's like, this big, and there's just this little tiny thing. And I'm like, what the heck? So I have to save out of plasticity as an OBJ, open that OBJ in Tinkercad, and then if I did it in inches, I tell Tinkercad when I opened it, I did it in inches, or if I did it in millimeters, I tell them I did it in millimeters. And then it's like, okay, cool. And then it makes it the right size. And then I save it as an STL out of Tinkercad. And then when I open it up in Bamboo Labs, it's just the right size. So, yeah. The reason I like using plasticity more now in comparison to Tinkercad is because the actual modeling stuff is a little bit easier to, you've got way more choices and things you can do. And there's a lot of whatever stuff you can't do in Tinkercad, but everything I make, I have to run through Tinkercad so I can print it. It's the weirdest thing. Harebrained Schemes Battletech video game is better for the wargame experience. Oh yeah, no, like the PC game is awesome. I do wish that they had made a version of that for like consoles, but yeah, the PC game is actually really, really good. Happy New Year! Painting up Savage Orcs for a Forgotten Ruin playthrough. Avatars of War STLs look fun. Cheers from Southern California. How you doing, Bruce? I remember Silent Death was a fun game, and I still have most of the models. So what do you do with the models when the game is out of production? I mean, you just use them in a different game, Greetings from Tinley Park. Listening while working. Hope everyone had a great New Year. I'm a bit late, but has there been any talk on the new Gundam game? People have brought it up for sure. I don't know a ton about it. I don't know much of anything about it yet, but I'm glad to see that somebody's doing something with that. You know what I mean? I was watching an old episode and paused it when I realized I'm missing live. I always miss the live stuff. That'll happen. I would say Battletech is approachable for getting into in terms of price point. The Alpha Strike box set and the AGOAC, I don't know what that last part is, are excellent entries since you get a ton of models for under $100 for two people. That's the whole reason I bought the Alpha Strike set, is because I was making that video about two-player starters under $100. And I was like, well, this is obviously a two-player starter. There's 13 friggin' models in there. It's got to be. And yeah, so that's why I bought it, so that I could talk about it and stuff like that. And now I'm painting it, and then we'll see where that goes. I had friends first play Alpha Strike with a company per side, and they finished in 2 hours. Wow. I love old Battletech. Wish Shadowrun would get the wargame treatment. Cyberpunk needs some magic and weird internet for me. I played Cyberpunk the RPG, I played Shadowrun the RPG back in the day, back a little bit post-college. And I enjoyed it back then, but it was like all role-playing experiences. It depended on who you were playing with, I think. And so had a good time with it for the most part, but it was, again, guys I still hang out with to this day. I don't know. I honestly, because I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077, I can see myself not needing orcs and elves and magic and crap like that personally in my Cyberpunk, but it's, I don't, they sort of had there was sort of a miniature game for Shadowrun, kinda. It was made by WizKids, it was made by WizKids, and they were pre-painted, and they were like 54. No, they were bigger than 54. They were like action figure size, and it was like this weird sort of like dual kind of game. It was weird. This was probably in the early 2000s, maybe the late 90s. I don't remember. Skirmish Shadowrun would be good. I mean, they don't have the elves and the dwarves and all that crap in it, the magic, but there are several decent cyberpunk style games, if that's what you're looking for. But actual Shadowrun with the fantasy aspects too, I don't know why no one's bothered to make one. I mean, that's a good question. Let's see here. Classic Battletech is about the crunchiest rule set I play. As complex as 2nd edition. Sure. Any skirmish games with even smaller model counts, like 3 to 5? Well, I mean, I just talked in the Tabletop Minions awards a couple of weeks ago, or whatever it was. I talked about a game called 1490 Doom. So 1490, like the year, 1490. Doom, like, Doom. And that one, you have 3 models per side. Each person has 3 models. So that's, if you're looking for something small, that's something to do. Tough going back to the Battletech after playing Steel Rift. Steel Rift is a really fun game, easy to learn and hard to master, and 2 cool expansions. Yeah, I think that's going to be part of the issue there to some degree. But like I said, I'm going to paint up this other group, and then we'll kind of, once I've got, I mean, technically I can start playing as soon as I finish up the stuff that came in the box. The stuff that I primed and base coated yesterday, I'm just going to keep continuing to paint on Twitch, and that'll be fun. And then I'll have some choices, but I'm going to probably stop there and then see how Alpha Strike shakes out for me, and then make decisions based off of that, is the hope. Kind of already made a skirmish Shadowrun game. There was WizKids click-based game. Yeah, well, they were big. Like I said, yeah, they're action figures, yeah. Next time I see any Steel Rift product in a retail outlet, I'm buying it on site. I mean, that's the thing, is it's probably not going to be in a lot of retail outlets. I know there's a place in Milwaukee that carries it, but that's about it. What mechanics do you appreciate in a good skirmish game? Mainly the ability to make my own, like I want to have agency on how I make my people. One of the reasons that I love Space Weirdos is because you can make your own people. It's not like, oh, well, you got to use this list, or you got this faction or that faction. It's just like, I don't know, you got kind of a cool model. He's got sort of a big gun. Okay, well, you know, it costs this much to have a heavy rifle. Does that look like a heavy rifle to you? Cool. That's how many points it is. And then just go through and go da 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 da, points. And then that's this guy. And then you do it, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have to go, well, there's this faction, and that this is their background, and this is what they do, and da 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 da, and here's the list of different types of units that you have in that. It's fine. Most games are done that way. You know, the games that we make are generally like, well, here's what a skeleton is, you know. These are the points for a skeleton in Death Wizards. This is how you make this is how you do that, you know. And that's fine too, because at least you still get to build your list of minions, right? Like in Death Wizards, which I have right here. In Death Wizards, you start with 7 rating points basically to build your force, and then when you're doing that, you look at the force of different minions. Come on, here we go. You got your minion list on this page, and so you're like, okay, I got 7 points. Well, I could take 7 skeletons, or I could take 3 skeletons, 3 skeleton archers, and a vampire spawn, or I could take a ghost and a banshee, and that's it, you know, like whatever. So having that kind of agency to pick what you want is cool, and it can go all the way to, I'm literally designing each figure, down to, well, I have this list of figures I can choose from, and I don't get to customize how my skeleton works. You know, that's fine too. But having that type of agency, the thing that drives me nuts is basically what they're doing in Kill Team, where they're like, well, this is the list, and you've got to pretty much sort of follow it, and you can have some little tweaks here and there, but that's basically it. Yeah, but I want to bring in a different guy. No, you can't. You know, that's not what I'm big into. Is it the video by Matt with many T's? Maybe. I don't know. He's kind of a bald guy. Seems nice. He makes a video. I've watched another video too about Rob Liefeld, maybe, as well. But yeah, most hated man in the Sonic fandom, something like that. That was the video I watched. It was like 45 minutes long, and it's like, it's well done. But I was just like watching it going, God, the amount of just editing alone that went into this. Good Lord. So many little weird animations and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't know, but it's working for him probably. You might not be a video watcher, but your viewers are not the same as you. That's why we're here for 2 hours. Yeah, but there's no editing going on here. This literally could be a podcast. You know what I mean? Like, you're just looking at my face. There's nothing, I'm not bringing in like cool animations. I'm not doing all kinds of stuff and all that kind of stuff, but that's a live stream. And I get that with a live stream, but like with a normal video that goes for super crazy long, for me, I'm like, it's interesting. Deathmatch mode in Tech Commander is about the fastest playing mecha game you would want. Cool. Let's see here. I watched your videos to hype myself up to get back into hobby painting. Well, that's very cool. I thought Battletech was 6mm. I've always heard that to be the case, but I have no idea. If you're hyperactive, you have to click through on the wordy ones and watch what you care about. I do like having coffee with your lives. You mean like like in this type of situation where it's a chat, like with, again, these and Twitch streams too, I those I think are a very different animal than like watching a normal YouTube video on YouTube that was like edited and all that kind of stuff and everything like that, and having that be super super crazy long. But you know, people like different things. I think your video lengths are perfect, not too long, not too short. Well, that's good to hear. It's funny because people used to be like, geez, your videos are long. This is 5, 6, 7 years ago. And I would be like, they're like 10 minutes. What do you want? You know, or 15 minutes max or whatever. But I mean, I remember there was a day way back in the day, you couldn't even make a 10-minute YouTube video until you got a certain number of subscribers or something. Like there used to be a limit, or maybe it was like you could make up to 10 minutes, but you couldn't go past. Back in the early days of YouTube, there was definitely like you had to get enough subscribers so that you could go past the 10-minute mark. If you tried to upload a video longer than 10 minutes, it wouldn't let you. And now they're like, whatever, we don't care. But yeah. I do love to balance long form with shorter. Love your videos. Usually watch them painting my minis. But sometimes a longer format is good to get a better grip on some new wargame I want to check out. Sure. And I think also too, it makes more sense to then not have to look for another video. Like if you watch my video and it takes 10 to 15 minutes and then you're like, well, no, I got to find another video, and you're still sitting there painting. Whereas if you could put on like a 6-hour video, like that's one of the reasons why I listen to audiobooks and to podcasts. And even podcasts at most get to be maybe 2 hours. But with an audiobook, you don't got to think about it. You put that audiobook on and you are listening for hours and hours and hours while painting, and you can really go. So that's why I like audiobooks a lot. Also, I feel like I'm cheating because I'm able to read a book and paint a miniature at the same time. So I get 2 things done at once, which I always love, getting 2 things done at once. YouTubers who overlay informative text over them talking about something different drives me crazy because you have to pause on it, read it, and then go back and hear the voiceover. If it's like a super, I see that a lot too, where someone puts up like a super quick flash and stuff like that, and they expect you to go back and pause it and go, what the heck does that say? Yeah, no, I get that. I've seen a bunch of videos talking about retention editing, which if you want to see retention editing, watch anything by Mr. Beast, where there's just like every second something's going on and there's an explosion over here and there's this, and he's talking and whatever. And there's just constant stuff going on so that you just get hypnotized. That's what retention editing is about. But there is, and I've seen a bunch of videos talking about this as well, there is now kind of a counter swing to that type of movement in editing. And they're doing something now that's being referred to as authenticity editing, or yeah, I think that's right, authenticity editing, where it's more about the person and what they're saying, and you're having a conversation, and there's longer shots and there's less constantly going on and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, that's how I've been doing it for a long time because I'm generally lazy. Like you know, because here's the thing, every time when you see one of those videos where there's just constantly stuff and animations going on, that's hours and hours. Like you'll see an animation that will last, in some situations, 5 seconds. It could take an hour to make that animation, or more sometimes, depending on how the person's doing it, how long they've been doing it, how good they are at it, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, as an editor, you also have to kind of like weigh that as well. Like, is it really important that this and this and this and this and all that kind of happens? There's also then plenty of people who will be like, well, I can do all these super cool animations and stuff like that because I just bought a bunch of plugins, and I can just grab this animation that does this, retype the words, and then make it happen. But then you start to see people who's like, well, I've already seen that animation 12 times before from other people, because they just changed the type. They bought that thing online, you know? So I don't know. It's always interesting. Orbital drop pods in. Hello, where's the crack with the channel and who are you, friend? What? Overlays aren't always good for a video. Sure. 10 minutes is about right. My first video is 10 minutes. Retention is still difficult. Second one will be hopefully better. Sure. Battletech makes 0 sense when you start applying logic. I mean, if you get in, Vince and I have had this conversation several times. It doesn't walking robots don't make sense. Like they just don't. Like a giant battle mech doesn't make sense. Like a big tank, sure. Let's say, why not? You know, but a giant mech just does. It's cool looking. It's neat, but it just doesn't make any sense. I paint some of mine pastel colors. Neat. Same reason why missiles miss in modern war. Well, missiles are maybe a slightly different story, but even then, they kind of, in sci-fi, they kind of shouldn't miss. But definitely with a gun, they kind of shouldn't miss. YouTube unsubscribed me from this channel despite watching it every week. Well, that's weird. 10 to 15 minutes is good as a norm. Beyond that, it's more of a discussion, debate, documentary. Sure, like I've watched some little mini documentaries once in a while that are fine, but sometimes, yeah. Shots missed in mecha anime as the combatants are jumping around like ninja. The concept of a giant robot jumping around like a ninja is also silly. I mean, the concept of a Battletech mini, like, they've already built life-size Gundams in Japan. I've seen them. They don't generally stand by themselves, I think. Or if they do, I think maybe that they're a lot of fiberglass. Like, the concept of something being that big and armored, like, you get into this weird physics thing where, like, the thing will automatically just fall down because it's too big and it can't hold itself up with that kind of weight and whatever. Now, in Battletech, Vince and I literally just had a conversation about this. In Battletech, they kind of fixed that by making the muscles for the mechs being this, like, electric material, and it's like a muscle. Like, as you add more electricity to it, it compresses and, like, blah, 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 whatever, as opposed to being hydraulics and servos and stuff like that. I get it. And you can hand wave a lot of that stuff away in sci-fi. That's the way sci-fi works. You go, oh yeah, well, there's a such and such device, and that makes it so that this is physically possible, whereas it's not in 2025. But I don't know. Like, again, I would almost rather have a tank, like a really big tank. Did you ever see that movie, The Creator, from a couple years ago? It was not very good, like, story-wise. It was like, but it looked gorgeous, and it was super cool, special effects and stuff like that. And at one point, like in Southeast Asia somewhere, the U.S. military rolled into this village with 2 tanks, which were each the size of like a city block. And they were just like these things, they were just arcing missiles and blowing things up, and nothing could hurt them. That makes sense to me. But if it would have been a mech walking around going do 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 do, that doesn't. I don't. Yeah, it is weird. But what are you gonna do? Anyone in the chat started playing War Machine Mark IV, or at least thinking about it? I have not. Have you tried the new Color Forge spray primers? I'm loving their Raven Black. I have never seen it in a store anywhere, so I don't know. For the longest time, I thought it was England only. I thought it was just UK, but I guess, has Monument been bringing it into the States, or they've been bringing it in the States themselves? I don't know. I just know that they're starting to do that. Military vehicles are actually still camouflaged in the West, at least. I mean, they're usually a color that's close to what, the ground is supposed to. If you're going to, if you're going to desert, they paint them tan. If you're not going to desert, they paint them green, I guess. And there might be a little bit of a little bit of a camouflage. But like I said, if it was in a sci-fi situation, you'd be like, they're over there. We got like cool sensors and stuff. I'd love to paint Orc Commandos in that alley Viper scheme. What alley they're hiding in is anyone's guess. That's a good question. I agree. Lasers are described as something that could shoot to the horizon accurately via Star League targeting tech, satellites, AI, etc. All that is gone even in the new era. I think the problem with firing a laser that far is obviously it's going to lose power over time because it's going through the atmosphere. If you were in space, it's a much different story, I would suppose. But like, because it is light going through air, I would think it would lose cohesion and whatnot, laserness. It's a technical term. Over the farther you have to shoot it. Speaking of Gundam, I'm going to build my first one in like 25 years. Oh, not in like 25 more years, but like since the last. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Nice. If GW keeps some models out of stock for a while, they'll sell a lot more of them when the quarterly price rise hits. I mean, that could be part of the idea as well. Everyone talking about targeting mechs reminds me of my gripes probably about playing the Traveler RPG. It was written in the 80s, so the tech in the book is antiquated. Sure. At this point in modern warfare, so much for camo when drones are looking straight down the field of battle and can pick up heat signatures. Yeah. I bought 2018 Battletech starter a couple years ago. Mechs were terrible quality. Like I said, they're not GW quality, and maybe they're better or worse now than they were or whatever, but they're I don't know. Again, you kind of get what you pay for. Thinking of how I could make a Shadowrun style skirmish game for mechs. Interesting. To quote a recent Blank Pants Legion video, I've never heard of Blank Pants Legion, but it sounds fun. My planet hasn't been able to produce transistors in a century, so I fire my autocannon with a pull cord. I call it the Lincoln Lawnmower. All right, well, there you go. See, like, it makes sense when you get into, like, what do you call it? Like apocalyptic stuff. Then it makes sense that you're like, well, after painting microscopic armada fighters by the dozens, all bigger minis are heaven. I mean, that makes sense. $350 Canadian is enough to get stocked with enough Battletech to last for years. It's not enough to buy a single GW army. Basically true, yes. I agree. Did you ever play Ganesha Games' Samurai Robots Battle Royale? I have not. I mean, I'm familiar with Ganesha Games stuff. I've always been a big fan of Song of Blazing Heroes and things like that, but yeah. So what's Steel Rift? Steel Rift is a mech game made by Death Ray Designs and written by Ash Barker from Guerrilla Miniature Games. And it's got much more of a Battletech vibe than I would say like an Epic or Legions or whatever kind of vibe. Though it was not just all mechs now. They've added like small vehicles and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's like I said, it's more like Battletech than Legion or whatever. COcast is horrible. Details are not bad, but trying to clean mold lines is a nightmare. It is kind of a pain, I'm not going to lie. But I'm pretty sure the mechs aren't COcast. Like the current ones, like the ones that came in the Alpha Strike box are definitely not COcast. I don't know what they are, but they're not COcast. Are they making CO? Well, now that I come to think of it, at Gen Con this year, they had some like, they called them premium mechs, and they were unbuilt, so you could build them and like I guess pose them, and those were COcast because those were made by Monster Fight Club. There's like a partnership they did with Monster Fight Club, and I bought some, but I haven't tried. I bought like 2 of them, but I haven't tried building them yet. I just wanted to check them out. But I've had good COcast. But yeah, I know what you mean. It can be problematic, especially the mold lines are probably the worst part, but otherwise they're not bad. John was right about the inability to customize the Battletech minis as much as you can customize the mech. Oh yeah, no, I mean Battletech is never. The Battletech minis have never been customizable, particularly that I've seen, which is one of the things that I like about Steel Rift, because with Steel Rift you can customize them. They come with little tiny lasers and and there's like spots on the HEVs, the big, the mechs basically, where you can slot in a rail gun and a missile launcher, or whatever and stuff like that. So yeah. I just wish 3D companies that the 3D print could get a resin I wasn't worried about snapping. The trick is that they're starting to do more and more of that. There are additives that you can add to certain resins that make them stronger and less brittle. And there are just other resins that I think that's the next big thing in 3D printer resin, is stuff that's going to be it's going to be more robust, less brittle. I think that's the next big thing in 3D printer resin. DreamPod 9 is still thoroughly stuck in the 90s, both in website and corporate outlook. I mean, I don't know anything about their corporate outlook, but their website's old. Residents get better every year. It's probably resin, I'm assuming. Just it's a matter of time before they've got something that's really closer to ABS. I use a few that have worked pretty well. Yeah, there's a additive, I think, for resin called Tenacious, which Jefferson from One Page Rules, a couple years ago, when he was at TMX, he had a bunch of models that he was like handing out at the One Page Rules booth, and he gave me like this big lizard guy with like a rocket launcher thing on his shoulder and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, yeah, I printed it with this resin and it's got this additive called tenacious. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And he took it and he just threw it on the ground and it was like tile floor. It wasn't carpet. And it just bounced, you know, and it wasn't broken. So, yeah, that's, you know. Just joined the stream, but have you seen the new Gundam miniature game? I've heard about it. I haven't really seen it, but I've seen stuff about it on like social media, but I haven't like played it or checked it out or even, I think it's Bandai, right? Probably Bandai. TGM 7 is pretty flexible. See, that's the thing too, is you don't necessarily want it to be bendy. That's the problem I find sometimes too. Oh, also, during the Kickstarter for Trench Crusade, the company that's doing the majority of the 3D printing, if you're buying the stuff physically, they had a test where they took one of the models and threw it down the stairs. So, you know, that was fine. How did the Blanche video go this week? Certainly felt like a different video for the channel. Pretty well, actually. Yeah. I mean, the video, it's creeping up on 30,000 views, I think, at this point. But yeah, not too bad. I kind of honestly thought that it wasn't going to do particularly well for several reasons. It's at 28,000. One of the reasons I thought it wouldn't do well is because it was that particular model that I had in the thumbnail. That Inquisitor kit bash that I did, because that Inquisitor kit bash that I did back in 2023, that video did garbage, just terrible views. I was like, wow, okay, people don't want to watch me do kit bashes. And then I did a video 3-4 months ago where I did that kit bash where I took that Steel Rook GW guy and made him like a sci-fi guy with a robot head and all that kind of jazz. That video also did trash. So I'm like, all right, fine. Kit bashing, not necessarily something that people really want to watch. Though there were plenty of people in the comments that were like, oh no, I love that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, the 28 of you should all get together and start a club. So I kind of thought the video was going to do not very good, and it's done fine. It's gone up against, because YouTube always shows you where the video is depending on the last 10 videos you did. So if you put up a video and then it takes that video and compares it to technically the last 9 videos, it's inclusive 10, but you know, so it'll go, okay, well, at the 5-hour mark, this video's been up for 5 hours. This video is currently in 5th place or 8th place or 1st place, you know, depending upon in comparison to the other videos you did, number of views wise. So this video did 4 out of 10. So it was in 4th place, but it had 3 videos to get past to try to, you know, to get a higher place. And those videos are the new future of wargaming, which that video with the, you know, the Battlefront Valkyrie ships has done quite well. The Hobby Tax video, which as it turns out, is the biggest video I made all year. That video has more views than any other video I made all year, and I made it in December, or maybe late November, I don't remember exactly. And then there's the Trench Crusade video. So right now, that video, but I painted with the new John Blanche stuff, it's got 28,200 views according to the Studio app. You might see fewer views if you actually look at it online, but according to the Studio app, that's where it's at right now. There's a lag in number of counts. It's a whole thing. So we're at the 2 days and 8 hour mark at this point, and that video is in 4th place with 28,200 videos or 200 views. The Trench Crusade video at that 2-day, 8 hour mark is at 54,200. So there's a nearly 30,000 leap to get up past that. The next one is the Fight the Hobby Tax, which is at 54,008, and then the New Future of Wargaming was at 58,008 at this 2-day, 8 hour mark. So that's how you always keep track of, like, that's kind of the KPI that they show you to see how things are going right now. All that to say that, like, those 3 are like a hump to get over for any other video I make until eventually they fall off the list, because, you know, it's always showing you the 10 most recent videos, including the one you just posted. So as soon as those get out of that range, then all of a sudden it's like kind of like grading on a curve a little bit. Like, but all that to say, the video did surprisingly well. I only got called a shill a couple of times, so I got that going on too. So there you go. Ordering out of Canada from Australia? Ooh, yeah. Horizon Wars is a rule set published by Osprey about 8 years ago in the Blue Book series. Combined arms, small scale battle. I've heard of Horizon Wars, yeah. Oh yeah, the deodorant thing is also an important thing for going to conventions. Do you think indie successful games like Trench Crusade made GW nervous or at least concerned? I don't think anything makes GW nervous or concerned. I think they should. I think that things, maybe not necessarily those games, but I think there's a lot of things that they should be concerned about. I think they're concerned about the wrong things if they are concerned about stuff. I don't, yeah, I mean, I think that, and I kind of talked about this in the video I did about Trench Crusade. Trench Crusade doesn't have to beat Games Workshop. Trench Crusade has to do well for what they want to do. You know what I mean? Like me and Vince, we make games. We're not concerned with trying to beat Games Workshop. There's no reason to try to beat Games Workshop. That's not even on our to-do list. We just want to make games that people like and they sell pretty well, and we want to make them at a decent price so they're accessible to people. And it's worked out fine for us. You know, it's a fun third job to have, basically creating our games. And not everybody, like, here's the deal. At least two of those guys there's Thomas and Thomas Piernan, who he wrote the rules for it, and he wrote the rules for Mordheim and stuff like that. And then the lead artist is a guy named Mike Francina, and he works for companies like Blizzard and stuff like that, Activision, and he's been doing concept art, I think, since Diablo 2, but he's been working in the Diablo stuff. So they both have day jobs. And I think that they've still got their day jobs, but they've also got this other thing going on. And then they've got some other people there. There's a guy named James Sheriff, and there's a few other folks. But it's a really tiny company, but they've, raised $5 million at this point. Yeah, they don't need to go out like that. It's always the wrong kind of narrative to go, well, are they going to beat Games Workshop? Who cares? No, I mean, they're going to do well and people will enjoy it. And there doesn't have to be a single winner all the time and everybody else goes home. That's not the way it works. You know what I mean? So it's not sports. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, well, this guy won this, these guys won the Super Bowl and everybody else, it's not the way it works. If YouTube could maybe hire somebody to fix this, that'd be great. There we go. Here we go. Okay. Heavy gear was easier. Bring snacks, wear deodorant, take a shower, wear deodorant, clean clothes every day. Yep. No, that's great. Stay hydrated. Also, that's a good idea too. Hydrate or dihydrate. Whoa. Just went to my local brick and mortar and it smelled like a men's locker room and Fermunda cheese. That's no good. Yeah. Just joined the stream. Very excited. News of Gundam tabletop game. Love the anime since I was a kid. Well, that's cool. Have you tried Gamma Wolves? I haven't. Dude I talked to last month at the FLGS smelled like a hockey bag. Oh, that's not good. I'm familiar with that. Somehow I got jumped way back in the stream for a few minutes. Well, that's weird. Good old YouTube. Paint my yellow with cat yellow repair spray. Wow, no kidding. Wonder how practical a larger scale mech game with limbs that you could customize and remove when they're disabled would be. It seems like a lot of work. And again, you'd need huge terrain, probably. Can't believe you had Battletech in the thumbnail. Yay, hope you like the universe and games. I'm going to be playing Alpha Strike. The universe, I'm not a lore guy, so it doesn't really do anything for me. I miss the old days of Mutant Chronicles and the Warzone game. Didn't they redo the Warzone game? Wasn't there a Kickstarter for that like a couple of years back? I swear to God there was. Or unless I'm thinking of something else, but I thought it was Warzone. I wish there was a skirmish used for Bretonnian knights and Highwood elves, since the old world is currently just the books I use to hold my laptop up for Zoom meetings. I mean, there's plenty of other things outside of GW you probably could, yeah. I've used Tinkercad to make sci-fi tanks, spaceships, and monsters. No kidding, monsters too. I couldn't figure out how to get anything even vaguely organic out of Tinkercad, but, you know. Off to get some food? Absolutely, Jordan. Seeing as you're live, thanks for shouting out Frostgrave. My tabletop shop had a copy and I picked it up. Nice. We need to start calling them tabletop shops. It's alternate. It's alliterative. It does. I like the sound of it. I'm not going to lie. I saw a shirt with the Battletech bubble mech on the front and back. That scratches the old. Oh yeah. I know who that is. That's probably is it Alpha Omega or no AC20, AC10? It's a t-shirt company. I technically own a t-shirt like that, though I haven't seen it in a long time, so I don't know what happened to it. A Game of Armored Combat, the main Battletech box. Oh, okay, got it. I was a playtester for a Shadowrun wargame like 10 years ago that never released. Well, that's a bummer. They weren't just action figure size, they were full-on action figures. The game was okay. I still have them. Yeah, well, they were posable and stuff, for sure. Yeah. Please make an elves and dwarves and all of that crap quote shirt. I mean, it's, you know. Wasn't there a Shadowrun book that got them investigated by the FBI? I know that Steve Jackson Games got hassled by the FBI for making a game called Hacker, I think, or something like that. Loved your recent Kit Bash video and finally pulled the trigger on picking up a lot of individual sprues from Frostgrave, Stargrave, and other compatible ones from Sprue Dude. Sprue Dude sounds like a cool dude. I use Fusion to convert STLs currently. We'll check out Plasticity. I like Plasticity a lot, but like I said, you have to save it basically as an OBJ and then open it in, like, I open it in Tinkercad so that it's the right size when I try to open it in Bamboo. But yeah, Plasticity is really cool. Let's see. Oh yeah, the GURP Cyberpunk. Yep. One of my 2025 projects is to build my Steel Rift models and magnetize them and all the different arms and weapons included. Oh gosh, that's a lot. Yeah, yeah. While I am WYSIWYG, I do tend to let Kill Team players pretend that one of those pouches on the Space Marine has the weapon they want to use. It's like a 90s comic book rules. Yeah, it's a little Liefeld, a little bit going on there. I get it. Sadly, doctors have told me I'm not supposed to customize my skeleton. I mean, you're not. If your friends want to, you're supposed to let them. I don't write the rules. Kill Team 2018 to Kill Team 2021 warband building felt like going from Lego Technic to Duplo. That's a very good point. Yes, exactly. Yes. Let's see here. Ken Penders is the guy Sonic fans hate. Yes, yeah, I watched that show. Wait, this isn't a podcast? I bet if you put it up on Spotify, people would eat it up. I mean, yeah, for free, I guess, then. That's the thing that I think, because I've had people for years being like, you should put this up on, like, make it a podcast so a person can just listen to it. And I'm like, well, if it's on YouTube, then I get ad revenue out of it. If I go through all the work to strip out all the video or whatever and edit and blah, 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 and make it a podcast and put it out to all the different podcast services at the time, then I would get nothing because there was no good way to monetize podcasts without actually putting in your own ad reads and doing all that kind of stuff. Now, through different places, there are ads that you can do and there's things that you can do. So I can see a benefit to it more now than back in the day when people were kind of on me a lot about, well, you should just make it a podcast so I can listen to it on my podcast player. And I'm like, then I don't get YouTube ads off of it. And so, yeah, I don't know why I would do that. 45-minute video would take me about 40 plus hours of editing. Oh yeah, no, it's pretty long. And I don't usually have that kind of time. I like long podcasts or music to listen to as I build and paint. Something that doesn't require looking at the screen is ideal. Yeah, that's the thing. If it's got a screen aspect, I'm going to end up looking at it and then I'll forget to paint. 10-minute limit was until you hit a certain number of sub views time watched, so lots of us had long form videos in multiple parts. Oh yeah. I do wish that Space Weirdos would get an update with as much weapon variety as Sword Weirdos. I don't mind the weapon variety in Space Weirdos. I don't know why. It's like, for me, it's like nearly a perfect game. Missiles miss. Call them hittles. Oh, that's a good point. And then we'll hit. Giant robots break the square cube law. That's the one I was talking about. The square cube law. I just couldn't remember what it was called. Life-size unicorn Gundam stands on its own, but it's a statue with some moving parts. Full-size RX-78 that moves is attached to a gantry at all times. Exactly, yeah. Kind of like how Ant-Man has trouble breathing. Yes, that makes sense. Ogre, yeah, absolutely. The only way giant robots make sense is they're not even slightly human-shaped. Like some dinosaurs would be bigger than humans, so a dinosaur-shaped one makes sense. Yeah. Steel Rift is killer. Steel Rift is killer. I like it a lot. Let's see. If the new Gundam minigame involves cards, I'm out. I don't want to play a TCG. From what someone was saying earlier, there's two games. There's a TCG type of game, or maybe a living card game instead of a trading card game. But then there's also like a miniatures game. I don't know if that's true. I haven't looked into it. Never been into Gundam, frankly, but Mech muscles in Battletech are called myomer bundles. I knew it was something that started with an M. Mechs are board game PVC style. The new ones are, they're PV. Well, I feel like they're slightly better than PVC, but not a lot better than PVC. I think you're right. Injection molded plastics is just the plastic is softer like PVC. I think GW uses ABS. GW used something called HIPS, I think. HIPS, but I don't know what it stands for. Not off the top of my head, at least. Let's see here. I show up and we're talking about Battletech. I mean, for about another minute or so. 54 miniatures, 54 or 52? Either way, showed off a string resin a few weeks back by throwing it at the floor. A strong resin, so hard he couldn't find it for a moment. Nice. Another thing I like about Steel Rift is using a 40+ millimeter round base that allows for more interesting groundwork. Yeah. I saw some of those premium Battletech miniatures during the summer at Game Store, and I don't get out too often. Yeah. Like I said, I picked up a couple at Gen Con, I think, but I haven't messed with them yet. Probably ought to. HIPS, high impact polystyrene. ABS is what Lego uses for their bricks. Oh wow, cool. I refuse to print a Benchy. Just print what you like. I mean, but Benchy's he's a happy little boat. He's just a little guy, right? All right, folks, it's 11 o'clock here in my neck of the woods. I want to thank everybody for coming by today. If you're interested in watching me paint more mechs, I'll be streaming tomorrow on Twitch. If you just go to twitch.tv/tabletopminions, you can find me there. I should really make a graphic so that I can push a button here and make that happen, but I don't have one yet. So if you go to twitch.tv/tabletopminions, 7 p.m. Central is when I usually am on Mondays from 7 p.m. Central till 10 p.m. Central, and on Fridays from 10 a.m. Central to 1 p.m. Central. And I've been painting mechs lately, and I'm going to continue to paint some more mechs because I primed some up yesterday. So, yeah. Otherwise, like I said, I'll let you folks know more once I start actually playing a little bit of Alpha Strike and see what I think about it. But I also want to, this year, play more Steel Rift. I'm going to try to trick more people into doing it somehow. I want to get... last time that Sam and I played a game, we played a mech game, but it was Flames of Orion, which is an indie mech game, which we had a good time with. But yeah, I think that I want to get him doing that more too. We'll have to have a nice conversation about it while we're hanging out together in Vegas at the Las Vegas Open. So that reminds me, next Every Other Sunday show in 2 weeks, I'll be in Vegas. So I don't know whether I'm going to try to do it from the hotel room, which rarely works, or whether I'm going to have to bump it, but I'll let you folks know. Definitely take a look on Blue Sky if you follow me there, or whatever. I guess Facebook too. Yeah, so everybody have yourselves a good rest of your day. And if it's either already the new week or else you're just finishing up or whatever, but have yourselves a good time, do some hobby or do something you enjoy, stay safe, and thanks for watching.